We'll now go back to Carol Hirsch. Carol, how much should city government be involved in subsidizing what's traditionally the domain of private sector business? For example, the Weinberg, Clustered Spires Golf Course, two pools, and Harry Grove Stadium.
It's very important. We have a theater here. We have golf courses. We have a lot of things to enjoy. Many things we can do here every day. We work hard. We want nice places to enjoy as well. So I want to keep all of those things up and running here. It's important to have good communication with the businesses, with the city budget, to know how we can work together. That's pretty much my idea for that tough question. I'm pretty tired.
I think we will. Thank you. We'll take Alderman Young's response, please. 45 seconds.
The city does have some obligation to support many of these things, and there's a misconception about at least one of those. The golf course does break even. Before capital investments such as new golf courses or new golf carts, but it does break even. You can't begin to quantify quality of life attributes and the economic benefits of many of these entities. And I could make a case that the economic development benefits and the jobs created and the revenues generated far outweigh the city's financial investment.
Thank you very much, Delegate Claggett. 45 seconds.
The city's participation in projects and programs like those mentioned is important, but I think the important thing is how we do those projects. To what extent we underwrite them, operate them, and subsidize them. And if we're smart about how we do business, the private sector will be a part of a partnership on any new project that comes into play, so that we're not caught in a position of having to do what we do in the state of Maryland with the Convention Center in Ocean City and in Baltimore City, and that is underwriting. So it'll be my goal to make sure that we use the tools that are available through the state of Maryland to make sure that we have viable partnerships on projects like the Hotel Conference Center.
Thank you, and we'll cycle back to Mrs. Hirsch for 30 seconds.
It would be nice to see the schools and the children and the curriculum. I know I'm a little bit off the point, but schools and the curriculum, recycling and the environment, all of this is very important, so that would also help to increase the quality of life. Just the theater that's here for the education system and the golf course.
Thank you very much. Alderman Young, you will take our next question, and this is about the perennial question of growth. In broad terms, what is your vision for growth in the city? What kinds of development do you favor, and where should it go? And I'll give you a minute and a half to answer all that.
Okay, thank you. The city is going to grow. There is no doubt about it. How we grow is critical. The city of Frederick is projected to grow by about 34% by the year 2030. So that's almost an additional 30,000 people in population. So how and where we grow is absolutely critical. We need to plan for that. Those numbers have been verified. Infill is the best way to grow. And I see a majority of that growth happening in East Frederick Rising, if we can get it launched sooner than later. But there are other areas where we need to grow because the current configuration of land is not suitable for growth. I'm hoping that most of our growth in the future will be mixed use. That's the way to grow, so that people can live and work and play near their homes and spend more quality time with their families.
Thank you very much. And now we'll come over to Delegate Claggett for your 45 seconds.
Thank you. I think the growth issue pops its head up every election year, and people do a lot of talking about it. But I would point out to you that the comprehensive plan that we have in the county and the one that we have in the city have worked pretty well. They're not perfect, and we will do more infill, and we will be more careful about how we grow. But it's important to also be flexible. Every development will not be a mixed-use development, although I think that's the best way to go. Every development will not be a commercial strip center. But we need to be careful about how we put those developments in place so that the infrastructure does appear when they appear or soon after, and that they do work and they're integrated and they do enhance the quality of life for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we will now move to Mrs. Hirsch.
Yes, it's expanding, wow. And it's really affecting the environment. That's the big question for me. That's the big picture. I know this is off the point, but can we imagine during deer hunting season, how are we going to control the population? We need to plan for the future. And the environment is the biggest question with the growth in population.
Thank you. Alderwoman Young, 30 seconds.
Thank you. Some of the best planning organizations in America have recommended that 75% of our future growth should occur in municipalities. That's where the infrastructure is in place. If we're going to grow in the county, we are likely to have more sprawl and less stringent planning tools to make our growth smart.
Thank you very much. Caught me off guard. We're moving back to Delegate Claggett here for our seventh question of the evening. The 148-acre Hargett Farm, which cost the city $18 million, has sat relatively unused since it was bought. What's your vision for that property?
That's a very difficult question. I think we have made a step in the right direction as far as the school site is concerned. I think our goal should be to explore every opportunity available to us to joint venture, private partnership, for example, the development of that farm. And if we can't do that, then we need to find a way to deal with it economically, because it's a drain on our economy right now. But I think there are ways to bring this thing forward, and if we work at it, probably get the private sector involved and do some pretty interesting things that would help that whole side or that whole corridor of Frederick City, the western environs. And that's what I would set out to do. There's no simple answer, and don't let anybody tell you there is. It's a complicated issue, and it's going to take a lot of hard work to get it resolved so that it works satisfactorily for the city of Frederick and for everybody who lives here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll go on to Carol Hirsch for your 45 seconds.
A long time ago, I remember in the 1980s, excuse me, we tried to develop or save the farms. We realized we needed the farms, that they're very important. So we have to balance this. The farms, we need the farms to help with the good air systems, the good breathing systems. People who have breathing problems, these farms really help the air to be clear in the city.
Thank you. Alderwoman Young.
The Hargett Farm has 148 acres. 35 of those acres are dedicated to public open space. 12 acres have been allocated to a school site. That leaves about 100 other acres. There's some debate about whether those acres are encumbered or not. My favorite state senator, who used to serve as the deputy secretary of the Department of Planning and Natural Resources, has said the state has tools to lift those encumbrances, and I would enlist his support to help us do that so that we can get that property working for us and paying off that debt.
Thank you very much. We'll move back to a colleague of that particular state senator, Delegate Claggett.
Well, I would elicit the support of the whole General Assembly and the Attorney General's office to bring about a reasonable approach to dealing with the property. One person's not going to carry the ball. It's going to be a matter of a lot of entities at the state level dealing with this thing if we're going to get some relief as far as that's concerned. So I would do that as well. That's part of the plan that I'm talking about, looking at all the components, all the aspects of it, so that we can make a rational, sane decision about where we go with it.
Thank you very much. Our next question goes to Carol Hirsch. Carol, work here, live here has been the oft-chased, little accomplished goal for the city's economic development. How will you promote that? And what are your plans to help business create and sustain new jobs in Frederick?
That's a good question. Well, we have to find creative ways, once again, to get the environment and the businesses moving forward. We have to start with the school system, the children, show them how to engage in composting. We need to educate the children how to really care for the environment. There's many different ways to focus. Recycling is very important. Instead of the old ways that we've done things, we need some new innovative ways. We need the businesses to, well, many of the businesses are the same. We need some new, innovative, new ideas, new businesses. And then other cities around would copy us. We could be a role model.
Thank you very much. Alderman Young, your 45 seconds.
Could I ask you to repeat the question I missed?
Absolutely, yes. Work here, live here has been the oft-chased, a little accomplished goal for the city's economic development. How will you promote that, work here, live here? And what are your plans to help business create and sustain new jobs in Frederick?
I think the question that is important is how do you make it happen? The number one tool is an educated, skilled workforce. If you have an educated, skilled workforce, employers want to expand and other employers want to move here. There are a variety of other tools, a more business-friendly permitting process that is predictable, public-private partnerships, innovative financing. We have to have a transportation network that is more friendly so that customers can get to businesses and that employees can get to businesses. Tough to answer that question in 45 seconds.
Sorry about that. Delegate Klanger, 45
Thank
seconds.
you. Currently, I head a committee for the House that's studying the business climate of the state of Maryland. And we have put together a lot of bills that recently got passed through the legislature. We're currently looking to do more. But what comes out of that, more than anything else, is the fact that we need to change the culture. We need to change how we do business. And one of the things I would do is revamp our Economic Development Commission, or whatever you want to call that animal that we're using, to attract businesses and work with the state and with the county to bring more businesses here. There are a lot of other components to this, but I think that's a good start.
I know, a lot to answer in 45 seconds. Mrs. Hirsch, if you would like to take 30 seconds to wrap up.
It's interesting with other counties and also in Europe, they're sort of ahead of us where we are here. It seems like they stay with one concept and they don't change drastically. They keep something good and they keep it stabilized. It would be nice for us to do such a thing here.
Thank you very much. And for our final question of the evening, it goes to Karen Young. Karen, what has been the biggest failure and, on the flip side, the biggest success of this administration in the past 4 years? What would you have done differently?
I think the biggest failure is an inability to move more quickly, and part of that is because there is a very strong line between the executive office and the legislators. And what I think I would do differently is to work first collaboratively to make sure that the agenda moved forward on a quicker, more predictable basis. And if I couldn't do that in a collaborative manner, then I would use legislative tools to make that happen. Because I do believe we could have accomplished a lot more, a lot quicker if we had been more efficient. What is the biggest success? I believe that my colleagues have been, and if there are any of you out there, I will thank you again, one of the most efficient administrations in the city of the Frederick history. They come to meetings well prepared. They've done their homework. You can tell they do research beyond the meetings. They show up all the time. And I think that they have raised the bar for how to perform as aldermen going forward.
Thank you very much. And we'll come over this side to Delegate Claggett, 45 seconds.
We have, as I said earlier, a strong mayor system. Obviously, if we're going to move the system, we need a strong mayor. And we haven't moved it in a fashion that I think is adequate. And so what I would strive to do is read the code and make sure I understand my job, which I've already done, obviously. And I would work that job to its fullest extent. We won't need to amend or change anything if we have someone in that position who's going to drive the car. It's that simple. And that is what I would urge.
Thank you. And Mrs. Hirsch, you have 45 seconds.
Each of us have meetings in 12 zones in Frederick. We need to have different meetings in 12 zones. Get our own officers, get our own leadership in these 12 zones. And one example would be each one would come together. A representative from each zone would come together, then we'd begin to work together and have a system of working together.
Thank you. And Alderman Young, if you would see us out for 30 seconds.
During my 3 decades in the private sector, there were a couple of things I absolutely had to do. I had to be an effective decision maker, work collaboratively across functional lines, be a creative problem solver, and inspire and motivate people. I've done that for 3 decades. I will do it again.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That brings us to the end of this interrogation. And we'll move swiftly on to our closing statements. Once again, we're going to take these in reverse alphabetical order. So we're going to go down the line to Alderman Young. 2 minutes.
I'm a very grateful woman. My parents invested in my education, and I have utilized it to have 2 successful, effective careers. I have a daughter and a grandson who live in this community. My daughter recently received a degree that will give her the ability to get a good job and buy an affordable home here in Frederick. I want that for all of our children. But now it's time to look forward to the future and to create a vision. We are on the cusp of a second renaissance in Frederick. But we have to make decisions, and we have to, with community input, paint a vision that will make us economically prosperous, accessible, environmentally sustainable, and safe. I believe that I have the experience and the drive to do that. Politicians will frequently make promises that many consider vague or hard to keep. So I will only promise you what I have done already, and that is work tirelessly for all of the citizens in Frederick, to use my passion, my creativity, my vision, and my courage to help Frederick be the best that it can be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You can applaud. And now, Carol Hirsch, if you would take 2 minutes for your closing statement, please.
Thank you so much for inviting me here tonight. Thank you for the interpreters being here as well. Thanks to all the people that are here and who put this program together. Well, I dream about the future. Someday that all of the town, all of Frederick City, there would be learning. There would be a good learning and a working together. It would be nice one day not to have electricity, and then on Sundays to have a 5K race. Every Sunday having a 5K race. No cars on the roads. Everybody's just walking. Why? It would be more connection with the environment, more connection with just living. We would be saving the environment once again. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And finally, to see us out, 2 minutes from Delegate Gameplay.
Thank you. Again, thank all of you for being here. Thank the sponsors. What I want to really get down to is the essence of this election, and that is who's the best qualified to run the city of Frederick. I bring to the table 8 years as a county commissioner, president of the Board of County Commissioners. I have 12 years coming up in the House of Delegates, rose through the leadership in the House of Delegates on the Appropriations Committee. I have a business that's 26 years old, a business that I didn't build by myself. 90% of the people who work in the business are women. I do listen to women. They don't leave, they stay. We have a very strong organization because of what we've built. And I think that's an indication of what I can do as a leader. I think that's very important. Finally, I was a teacher and a high school principal. I understand education. I fought to bring the higher ed center to Frederick. And I will continue to fight for things like Frederick High School's new building. I think the mayor can use the bully pulpit to help education and to promote education at the state level. We need to do that. And I look to future generations. I have a lot of grandchildren, by the way, 12. And one batch is triplets. So they're all going to go to school at the same time, and I'm really concerned about how we're all going to pay for that. But the bottom line is that that's part of my commitment. I want to make sure our families do have a quality of life that extends beyond just one aspect of how we live and do business in this city. So with that, I want to thank you again, and remember to vote for me on Election Day. I will very much appreciate that, and I promise you I will do a good job for you and for everybody in Frederick City. Again, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates, for your unique perspectives, and thank you for joining us here at FCC. Once again, don't forget to go out and vote. September 10th, the primary. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Take care.